This is Three Brothers Movie Reviews, and we just got finished watching Dario Argento's Suspiria. It is an Italian horror movie about a girl from New York who is a dance student who travels to Germany and enters a dance studio. While there, however, she discovers that there may be some supernatural aspects which are lurking underneath the shadows, and she goes in search of answers, and we love this movie. There's a lot of creepy aspects to this film, and let me tell you, we had a blast. So let's talk in strengths first and overall opinions, because we do not have any real issues with this movie. We talked about this afterwards. I had these slight nitpicks that I was thinking about, and I'm like, why bother? I always like that. Those are some of my favorite movies where I have issues, and then I'm like, why would I pick on this movie? Those are some of my favorites where I'm like, you can criticize a movie to the day you die, and you're like, what's the point if you just love the overall experience?
I think the funny thing is, by the end of this movie, our only real criticism is we wanted more from it.
Exactly,
it.
We watched this in preparation of the remake. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that towards the end, but yeah, that's the thing which is nice about a movie like this is it leaves you wanting more in a very good way. Not that it's inconclusive, but you want more of the world. So, overall impression. What's your overall feelings about the movie?
I absolutely love this movie. It felt like it felt very unique. Like the score is done by a German rock group called Goblin, and it's this very just intrusive and very eerie score. It has these bells and even guitar, but it all feels very natural in this story that at its heart is essentially a fairy tale.
Yes.
It's a fairy tale about a girl who goes to this beautiful castle where she's gonna dance, and there's something wrong with this place.
Yeah, there are these figures who almost represent evil, but she represents grace. And we mentioned it, there are shots straight from Sleeping Beauty and Snow White, which the director has said inspired him a lot.
He shot a lot of this film and he colored it, and the way it looks, you could basically say it looks like a Disney film. The way it's colored, it's big Technicolor, bold colors. When there's murder and mayhem, the blood is just vivid red. It's scarlet. It doesn't look like normal blood. It's not meant to.
No.
And I would say that my overall thoughts is I love that they took a simple fairy tale, told it with a really unique style, and it was just riveting the whole way through. I was kind of going into this honestly prepared to riff it a little bit. And I shut up 5 minutes into it.
Yeah, you throw out a couple of claims, and it doesn't bug me when just you throw out a few things, but yeah, there was no riffing. And I bought the Blu-ray before we watched this, and I'm always concerned, but let me tell you, this is one I loved. I'm so happy I bought it.
I need to pick it up now.
A word that you just used is exactly what I would describe it. This movie is bold.
Yes.
It is a small film. We've compared it to other horror movies similar to Halloween, but it's not something which feels simple and grounded. Halloween feels simple, and there's only these slight hints that there's a larger evil in presence, but overall that movie feels down to earth. This one feels almost out of this earth in a good way. It feels very expressionistic. There's these vibrant colors, and there's this beautiful score which does not hold back. I've thought this a lot in recent days, especially the score to Mission Impossible Fallout this year. I love that score did not hold back. It went so explosive, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly does that. Raiders of the Lost Ark does that. When the score does not hold back, there's something special which resides in the audience, because if the score just is nice, you just listen to it, you're like, okay, but when it goes all out, like Goblin's soundtrack to this, it's riveting and beautiful.
It's a score that practically screams, pay attention.
Yes. And you're supposed to. It's we've been comparing it. The Shining is one of those movies, and that's the thing about the atmosphere of this movie is you just feel something is wrong. That's the thing which we've talked about. As soon as she gets out of the airport, like even before the dance studio, in a lot of horror movies, you would get to the dance studio and then creepy stuff would start happening. That's not the case in this movie. Hi, Walden. That's not the case in this movie. That's not the case in this movie. At the airport, even there are these slight hints and these musical cues, which like come into the movie, and you feel like you're like something's not right here. Something is very wrong.
Yeah.
So
it's what's interesting about it is this is a movie that's not meant to feel like the real world.
No.
It's very intentionally made to feel like somewhat of a dream, somewhat of a nightmare. There's somewhat of a fantasy. Like I love the fact that the way that the camera shoots Jessica Harper's lead character is she's very much this like innocent and just innocent creature in this world of very odd and unsettling people.
Out of place. Like that's the thing, is like not everyone, it's not like everyone is evil or wicked. Like
right.
There are people who are, but the tone of this studio is very calm and graceful, and she represents good. She like is a very good person, and you feel that you root for her because she's just very kind, and the world she's exposed to, or like not even like exposed to, but just that seeps into her soul. That's
This is a movie that brings up a lot of questions. Like it's a world that, just as she is very confused, uncertain, in some ways directly manipulated by those forces, we don't really know a lot about the seedy parts of this world.
No.
And it's interesting because you get some answers.
There's a decent exposition dump, but like we said, like it's not like that exposition dump talks down to the audience, and it's not like you figure out everything. It's not like you can figure out everything.
No.
It's that the movie ends in a way and concludes with every storyline closed for the film itself, but the world is open and infinitely possible. And it's a very graceful and beautiful film. So strengths, like let's talk about that. I love the color. Like that's the thing which I have to talk about here.
No complaints there.
There are so many colors in this movie: blue, red, green, yellow, orange. The entire color spectrum is covered, and it's in the costume design, the set design, the lighting scheme, and different scenes. It's all beautiful, and that's something which you made a very important note on. You said blue almost seems like the color which is dangerous.
Strangely, in a movie this gory, blue is the color that makes me the most nervous.
There's blood, but the blood does not look that real. And in a lot of movies, it would just be normal, and when the blood comes, you know to be afraid. But this movie isn't trying to gross you out. The blood does not look real.
Yeah.
It's not about the blood itself. It's about when the blood comes.
Yes.
And
it's about the violence.
Yes. Blue seems to be the color which is dangerous, and I've mentioned this. This is a great scene where the main character is walking through a hallway, and the entire hallway is red. But there's this one window, which is off to the side, which is blue.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that and being like, is she in danger? And then there are flashes, which are blue. And you're like, what's happening? Is she in danger? Is she not in danger? Like, there's so many sequences like that where color is all over the place. It's never like there's one single color in a scene. It's all these different mixtures of colors which blend different feelings and emotions together. And you're not sure what to feel. You're not sure what all the colors mean. You have to figure that out as a movie. It's a process. It's an experience.
The movie is teaching you the language that color plays in that world.
Yes.
And just as you're learning through the dialogue, just as you're learning through the camera movement, the movie is slowly giving the audience clues as to what color means and how to react emotionally when you see certain colors.
Yeah.
And that's top marks for anything. I mean, if there's anything that I can say just in addition to what you've said, I have to give major marks to the director.
Yes.
This is a movie that is incredibly simple if you just wrote it out.
Yes.
And he pours a soul into it. The way the camera moves, the way that it doesn't move, the way that They handle shadows and darkness and color. It's telling the story in a way that brings out the best of it.
A great American example, which I was comparing the opening scene of this film to the opening scene of another movie, which is more popularly known in America, is Drive. And I'm a
Yes.
huge fan of Nicholas Winding Refn. That movie is exactly what you described. It's simple. It is a story about a getaway driver who meets someone that he likes, and essentially things trail off from there. But it's a story which is simple. It's based on a book, but it's the direction itself and the
Yes.
way that everything is crafted, especially that opening scene. I thought about both of them, the way that the soundtrack works and the way
Yes.
that the lighting is, the way the cinematography. That's what's so special about a movie which is directed, is you can take a really simple concept and give it so much weight and
Yes.
beauty.
That's,
And
that's the director's job. The director's job is not to tell the story, it's to tell the story well.
yes.
And that is all about, because you could easily take this story and do it terribly.
Yes.
You could do it straight. You could do it in a way that was boring and uninteresting. But if you have someone who can tell a story like this in a really unique way, that brings out the best from the story and also adds something to the story that odds are the person who wrote it didn't even think about.
No.
And I mean, on top of that, I would just say the performances are great. Jessica Harper plays the lead, and she's fabulous. Like the whole time, I think that, like you talk about Drive, like I think that with a movie this simple and a movie this simple in its story, you need two things to be dead on. You need a director who can tell the story to the best and just bring out the best of it, and you need a cast that can bring you into that world.
Yes.
A cast who can bring you into this dreamlike, strange place and make you believe it. Because the world itself is not a believable, real place, but the performances brought me into it. Like, I believed Jessica Harper. I believed the friends she made there. I believed the very off and suspicious seeming staff, and everything about it. The performances made you feel uneasy, made you feel worried for Jessica Harper's character. Like, I top marks to everyone involved in the cast. Like, I completely bought that world and loved the characters. And when they were in danger, it was stressful and it was upsetting watching, not knowing what's happening.
Yeah.
Are they in danger? Are they going to die? How is this going to happen? Like, there was a scene, and I won't go into it,
No.
where you and I both jolted. And it just took us both by surprise.
Something that I mentioned, there are two scenes like that. There's one where the color turns neutral. It goes from gray, and it goes from all color and vibrant to gray and black.
Mm-hmm.
And something is about to occur. You don't know what, and then it does occur. It's the same in that scene. The music cuts out. The music is going in this scene for so long, and then it stops. You know something is going to happen, and when it does, it is very spine chilling. And I remember we watched that, we were both just like, we just wanted to like curl up in a ball. It was really got under the skin. And that's what I loved about the violence in this movie, which almost couldn't work in today, because people expect blood to look real, and people expect blood to be all over the place in a movie that would be like this. The blood flat out does not look real, but it's the way that violence is used. That opening scene, the scene that we just mentioned, those scenes use violence, and it isn't that the blood is, looks real and is supposed to gross you out. It's just how the scene plays out.
Yeah.
And that's what I love so much about Dario Argento's direction. It's just, he has such control of the craft of this movie. And when you watch it, I've mentioned this, every single scene, every single frame shot, it does not feel like he coasted through any scene. That exposition dump scene with Udo Kier's character, that was one thing which I loved, is it doesn't remove any tension from the film.
Mm-hmm.
And the scene is crafted with beautiful shots, the shots with the reflection. It's like, this is not just a scene which is just meant to explain things to the audience.
Yeah.
This is a scene which very much is in the film and the story which is being told.
Yes.
That's what's so beautiful about every scene, is you feel the director is in beautiful control and is commanding every single moment. So.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm trying to think what else to
Yeah.
go into. I mean,
So let's
It's-
like we kind of have talked about all of our positives. We do not have any significant negatives. The
No.
only things which I could say is that the movie doesn't expand on the characters that much. There are not that many characters inside of this movie who are at least focused on. But in a lot of ways, that's a positive because it leaves you wanting more. That's something we said. The story ends. The plot is very defined. It has a beginning, middle, and end, which makes sense. But the world itself is big,
Yeah.
and you want more of them.
this was a tight hour and a half,
It was an hour and a half.
and that was it.
Nothing was wasted. You want more at the end.
Yeah.
And that's the only other thing was an exposition dump. I'm not a fan of exposition dumps. But I remember seeing it and giving it a chance, and I thought a lot about it. And I'm like, I do not like exposition dumps when they talk down to the audience. I don't
Right.
like them when they say, this is what you're supposed to be feeling. This entire movie has been building to this. There are all these things surrounding this. So this is what's been going on, which you didn't notice because you weren't paying attention.
Right.
Dario Argento expects you to be paying attention. And if you have, those little hints just give you some backstory to the
Right.
film. And it doesn't explain everything. You still have questions even when the movie ends, and the movie trusts you to expect those. So
Yeah.
those are the slightest nitpicks I could pick, but those are not problems for me. I do not have any issues with this movie. It is beautiful. One of the best directed movies I've seen in my life, and it is a masterpiece to be held. Really, I'll say it. Yeah,
I need to watch more from this director because if he makes
Absolutely.
anything half as good as this, it
and the
will be
giallo
worth it.
movement. I'll tell you what. Like
Yeah.
I love seeing a great noir movie or something from a defined film movement where you're like, I want more of
Yes.
that. Like, lay the French New Wave or whatever it is on me because I'm like, I want this film movement. That is, I want to see everything this director has made. Holy cow, this
Yeah.
movie's great. So, yeah, let's.
Can we talk about the remake?
Yes. So we watched this in anticipation of the remake. The director of Call Me by Your Name is making a remake of this film starring Dakota Johnson. Dan has been looking forward to this for a while.
Tilda Swinton's in it. Yes.
The movie is 2.5 hours long. This one was only 90 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
What we're expecting with the remake is that we will get more character development.
Yes.
That was what we said is not lacking from the story, but what we wanted more of. Like,
Yeah.
there are dance sequences which are beautiful, go along with the music fantastically,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the focus of the film because the film is so focused.
Yes.
So focused, and there's almost not room for character development or
Right.
for extensive dance
Or for
sequences.
like, I'm totally down for this new movie having scenes that are just there to make you uncomfortable as hell.
Absolutely.
Like I think that one of the things that's exciting about watching the trailer for the new new movie is it doesn't look like this film.
No.
It doesn't have the big bold colors. It almost looks like a stripped down 1970s movie.
Yes.
But what's interesting about it is like it doesn't look like it's shot like this movie. It doesn't look like it's colored like this movie. It doesn't look like it's acted like this movie. But having now seen the film, the trailers give me that same feeling of unease.
The atmosphere.
Yes.
Yes, that's
that
the key.
same feeling that I got watching this movie. I remember from those trailers.
Yeah. Remakes are tricky, and let me tell you, the director has his work cut out for him for the remake, but the remakes which I absolutely hate are the carbon copies, like the
Right.
Karate Kid 2010. I hate it when movies just do the same thing over again with the slightest tweaks, and I'm like, what is the point of this when there is a perfectly good movie sitting right here, which I would watch over the remake any day of the week?
Right. And on the flip side, you can also make something that is utterly like different
Very
and completely
distant.
disconnected from the original. And I mean,
We were talking about The Thing, like
Yes.
the first Thing and the first Fly. Those are monster movies made in the 1950s. They aren't quite as timeless. The remake of The Fly and John Carpenter's The Thing, those are very timeless, and the reason is those are more paranoia and body horror films, and
Right.
that's what makes those movies last. Those are good remakes, the ones which distance themselves from the original or which capture the spirit while injecting their own voice. And
Yes.
there is a fantastic director backing this new one. It's not someone who's fresh off and just kind of making this for the name. And this is not a popular movie either. This is not
No.
something which is like a remake of this hard masterpiece. This
Yeah.
is something which has been hidden by time. and is very ingrained to a specific film movement.
Right.
And I think with a different time period, we could have something which speaks to a new audience. So
Absolutely, and the cast is amazing. Dakota
Yes.
Johnson, Tilda Swinton.
I'll tell you what, like Dakota Johnson,
everyone's in this movie.
I am looking forward to her. She was in Bad Times at the El Royale. Great performance in there. You know, nothing amazing, but I'm just like, please redeem yourself from what you're infamous for, because she is a talented actress. And
She is.
everyone in that movie, like that's the thing which gives me confidence, is the cast is extensive. There are so many people. Like this movie has a set amount of characters, like maybe less than 10 that you focus on.
Pretty much.
This new one has well over 10, and I'm looking forward to the interactions between the characters. Like that could be so great. So
yeah, I've heard it's violent as hell too. Like I think I don't remember what convention it was, but they premiered footage from Suspiria. It might have been Comic-Con, and evidently people in the audience, like some people had to leave. Like it was extremely uncomfortable and extremely hard to watch.
It's turning some people off, and let me tell you, it's been compared to Darren Aronofsky's Mother, and I'm like, I love those movies that split people, and like I said, this is like a remake of a film which is so old and almost inaccessible, and I could see someone not liking this movie easily, but like, yeah, it's not for everyone, but ultimately that's what it's going to be interesting, is like when that old movie is brought to new screens, like how are people going to react? It looks like people are in between, but the people who like it really do like it. So huge looking forward to that. So let's
talk grades.
Yeah, like what would you give it? 1 out of 10?
10 out of 10. I absolutely loved this movie. It was unique, clearly rooted in cinematic horror history. There was some Rosemary's Baby in there.
Yes.
There was stuff from The Shining. Clearly has Halloween. It clearly has like its roots in its own genre of giallo. But it felt like a completely unique beast. I can't think of a movie I've seen that feels like this movie, that looks like this movie, that plays like this movie. But it was riveting. It was riveting. It was terrifying in certain scenes. The tension, the way they used color, the way the cast was used, the direction, everything was just above and beyond the Call of Duty. This is a simple fairy tale story that they just knocked out of the ballpark and into the bay. So yeah, 10 out of 10. I loved it.
I did a lot of thinking about that, and I remember you saying that you didn't have any issues with it, and I was mentioning this. I love the movies which I don't like picking on, but I love when I watch a movie, you have a few thoughts in the back of your head where you're like, maybe this could have been better, maybe that could have been better. I thought a lot about that, and especially after hearing what you said, and those issues are the slightest nitpicks, and they do not bug me at all. I am the same. I'm going a 10 out of 10. I love this movie. It feels unlike anything I've ever seen. It is so attached to a film movement, and I loved the direction. I loved the colors, everything there was about this movie, all the components. It felt so gracefully constructed, and it felt like there was so much passion and craft behind it. This is a movie which feels like a work of art by a passionate artist, and that's rare in today's movies. And I'm telling you, I'd recommend that. It is an absolute masterpiece. So
I'm loving this. Every movie we watch and review on this channel, like, the grades get better.
hopefully the new Suspiria blows us away equally. I'm looking forward to that.
We'll definitely review that for that. We'll definitely review the new Suspiria for this channel.
Absolutely. So we would both definitely recommend Suspiria. It just came out on remastered 4K Blu-ray this year.
It looks amazing.
If
you're gonna pick it up, pick up the new one. The new one just released this year. If you're on Amazon, if you're picking it up in store, check the back and make sure it says
We've not been paid for any of this. We're not supposed to be promoting. We are recommending this.
Saying this movie's great. Check it out.
I bought this before I watched it. I wasn't certain. It was rather expensive. It was worth it. Trust me, I loved it, and definitely check this one out if you feel like having something new and different, because like I said, I could expect someone not liking it, but I absolutely loved it. So
yep, bit of old 1970s horror for you, but well worth your time.
All right, This is Three Brothers Movie Reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel for more videos in the future.
Witches!